I'm Scott Sommer. I've been practicing holistic medicine for more than 20 years. And today we're going to be talking about the blue zones. So, those of you that don't know what that is, well, the blue zones are basically the centurions or the people that live well over 100 years old. And those people live in certain areas called the blue zones in the world. So, I'm going to start off with, the purpose of why this is important. Well, if you can just imagine, there's two different thoughts, I believe, if you will, where some people are saying, well, I don't want to live that long. I'm not interested in living to be 100. But if you will, just stick with me on this podcast and think about another aspect. If you can just stay open to the idea that maybe you don't want to live to be 100, but maybe it's about quality of life. Maybe you want more quality because, there's always that bumper sticker where somebody said, if I would have known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. Because you really don't know. You can sort of predict how long you're going to live, by taking better care of yourself. We know that that's true, that you can extend your life by eating a certain way, certain lifestyle, which is the blue zone life, if you will. And that's why we're talking about it, is improving your quality of life, because you really don't know how long you're going to live, but we know that you can add life to your years. So why not live a healthier life, even if you don't live to be 100, but you can feel better, look better, and have a better life and live a better life around the people around you so you can really have a greater influence. So one of my most touching stories of the Blue Zone is basically this started with a National Geographic journalist. And so he was a journalist and still is today. And what he did was he was given a mission to find the blue zones and to interview people throughout the world to see why they were living so long. And he ultimately came up with 9 traits that people have. And it's very interesting because one of the traits is, for instance, social interaction, to have a social network like a church or a family. And the other thing is more plant-based. We know that people that eat more plants live longer. That makes sense. And they were active. These blue zone people are very active as well. So these interviews went on for like 5 to 7 years. He traveled the world and he wrote them up into a book. And so if you're interested in more details, you can read the Blue Zones book, and it's pretty awesome. But the story that touched me the most of those interviews was a man that was a fisherman. And he was well over 100 years old, out of Japan. And I don't know if you know it, but there's like 70,000 centurions that live in Japan. So with that said, he was one of them. And, he was interviewed and said, why do you love to get up in the morning? What is your why, right? Because no matter if there's a pandemic going on in the world or whatever's happening, if you're stressed out about the world and what it's coming to, we still need to live our life. I mean, that's what we're meant to do, not to get distracted, to make a difference in the world and to live our life. And because people are depending upon us to live our life fully so that we can make an impact on their lives and help them with what they're trying to accomplish, right? I mean, that's what we're given our gifts for. So this man was a fisherman, and he said he got up every morning because he was so excited to be able to catch fish for his family. Can you imagine if you're 105 years old, how many children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren you could possibly have? Just total up the math. I mean, it's like, that's crazy. So he had like over, I think it was over, don't misquote me, but 70 to 100 family members at this time in his life, because he was so old. And so he said that that's why he got up. His goal was to get up, catch fish for his family, and to feed his family fish. So it's just such a great goal. Like, that's so different than golfing alone. Not that there's anything wrong with golfing or going to the gym, but, it's a purpose living life with a purpose-driven life. And so that's what he did. So he'd actually get these fish, he'd come home, and it would just bring him joy, so much joy, that he would have more joy for the next day to keep doing it each and every day. So I'm here to tell you that this is the reason why we want more life in our living. and to be more alive with what we're doing for people and those around us. And so these blue zones are amazing. There's a blue zone in South America, and there's also a blue zone in Greece. That's another blue zone. So the Greece are kind of interesting because that's more like the Mediterranean diet, right? And that makes sense. And then there's Italy, Sardinia, Italy. Those are where men live the longest, well over 100 years old. They have wheelbarrows and they're outside and they're planting trees and working in the garden. So they have an active life, which is not just about going to the gym, but it's actually being actively involved in life. In Japan, Okinawa was the other blue zone I talked about. So they actually, sweep the streets and they're involved in helping their community. They're not just staying inside of a care facility. They're actually involved and active in life. Because we all know that when we have a purpose in our life, when we find our purpose and we fulfill our purpose on a daily basis, we feel alive, right? Doesn't that make sense? Okay. So with all those blue zones, those are the blue zones that basically, really help us to achieve this highest potential, these 9 traits. And I think it's such a profound thought to think, wow, there's somebody actually out there that's living over 100 years old with health and vitality. On the other hand, as far as the United States is concerned, we really lack a lot of vitality. It's very hard to find a blue zone. And Loma Linda is our blue zone in Southern California. These are a vegetarian-based Seventh-day Adventist. So they eat no meat. They eat a vegetarian diet. And they basically take such good care of themselves. They have a community. They have faith-building community. They go to church. They're active. And this is why it's a blue zone. So remember, it's what we do with our lives and our lifestyle and how we eat that builds a blue zone. So with that said, in America, 70% of our population is overweight or obese. So that's a lot of people when you think about it. So it's really important to remember that we are so sick. We're rated as the 37th nation in the world out of 50. So that's like a D minus. So it means that we're doing something wrong. We're doing the opposite of the blue zones. It's like when you're a sumo wrestler, you want to stay sedentary, which we do. You want to eat a lot of bad food, a lot of carbohydrates, which we do. Pizza, donuts, cereal, carbohydrates in general, a lot of white flour. And when you do that, that's a perfect recipe for sickness and overweight, obesity. And so that's exactly what we're doing. And we spend more money per capita on healthcare than any other country in the world, any other country. So when you think about it, it's like $9,000 to $12,000 a year per capita per person in the United States that we spend on healthcare. That is a lot of money. So instead of spending our money on healthcare and drugs and surgery that doesn't even have to be necessary if we make some changes. So if you continue to listen to these podcasts, I really feel that I will teach you over 20 plus years of experience as a holistic physician. I will teach you how to take care of your family, how to teach your kids how to create their own blue zone in your home and in your community. Because once you start this process of becoming a nutritarian, which means basically eating more nutrient-dense foods with color and eating the rainbow, then I really believe that you can make lifestyle changes that will change your community, your family, and their families. So remember, you have the power, you have the ability, but it has to start with you. Because once you start the change, then the change will happen like a ripple effect. And I liken it in closing to like throwing a big boulder of huge impact to create a blue zone into a lake. And the ripple effect that will come out and continue out throughout the shores of that lake, known as a blue zone, will definitely change your neighbor's life, your family's life, and your life. So why not get started today? So I challenge you to create your own blue zone within your own home and study more about the blue zones, the 9 traits that people are doing to be healthy, to get healthy, stay and stay happy for the rest of your life. So why not thrive? Join the Blue Zone. Become a Blue Zone member and thrive today.